Hi, it's me. Welcome to week 4 of distance learning, brought to you by Corona. Um, we have a new topic this week. It's going to be different from last week. Last week, it was something we had talked about before spring break. This week, it's something brand new. So I really recommend that as you're watching this video that you have the PDF of the notes either pulled up on your phone screen or pulled up on a tablet or another computer or in the computer next to what you're watching right now. So you're probably watching this on YouTube. If not, how are you watching it? Because it's the only place I put it. But if you're watching this on YouTube in one part of the screen and you got the notes pulled up or you printed them out or whatever, you need to be able to look at the notes while you watch this, just in case something goes wrong with the video and the notes don't show up on the screen in the video, because that keeps happening. But anyway, here we go. I'm going to get started. I'm going to share my screen. Share this one. Okay, there we go. Now look, there's the PDF of the notes that hopefully you downloaded from Edmodo or Teams or Outlook or Focus or something like that. Okay, so you should have this main lesson page right here. It tells you our benchmark 4.1, tells you the topic, foreign policy versus domestic policy. This starts April the 20th and it ends April 24th. That's when your quiz is due. You can take your quiz now, but it's due the 24th. So this is week 4 and I got your learning goal here. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. Learning goal: students will be able to identify the difference between foreign policy and domestic policy. That's what you got to do. So here's our levels over here. Level 1, and this is the order that we're going to go in for this video and in the notes. Level 1, be able to explain the difference just between the words domestic and foreign. Level 2, be able to explain the idea of a policy. What is a policy? And then level 3, put it all together and say, okay, if domestic means this and policy means this, then that means a domestic policy is, and then how is that different from a foreign policy? So we're just defining things and putting them together. So you should be able to do it. All right, here's the resources that you're using. This is listed on the lesson page. Use the week 4 PDF that hopefully you're looking at right now. Come to my live Q&A on Zoom. I had a few people show up to ask some questions. Here's the link you can type in. And if that doesn't work, you can type the meeting ID and the password into the app and it'll let you in, but only Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3:30 to 4. I'm live and direct right there. And then I got my teaching videos on YouTube, which that's what you're watching right now. And here's my link to the channel. All right, here's your classwork for the week. Use the resources to watch the teaching video. Good job. And read through the notes. And you really should be doing those two things at the same time if possible. Okay. Take notes in your notebook if you still have it or wherever you're able to. And then answer any questions that I put in the notes. You can answer them mentally. You can just think of them through. Really, it's better if you pause the video and try to actually write down some things. That's going to be the best thing. They don't have to be complete sentences. This is not language arts. They just have to be something that you write down in your words to help you remember what these different things mean. So join me for the Q&A, take the quiz on Edmodo, and after you're done with your quiz, plug in your tablet and read a book. Wait, sad. Okay, next, how to get full credit for the week. If you get 60% on the quiz or higher, I give you full credit for the week. That's all you do. There's a bunch of questions, bellwork, classwork, homework. You don't have to turn those in. Just do those so you can be ready for the quiz and then take the quiz and pass it. So this week, I think there's 14 questions, which means you got to get at least 9 questions correct. If you can get 9 questions correct, you have got full credit for the week in the grade book, okay? So that's it. You'll have 90 minutes to take the quiz. So if you click on the quiz just to look at it and then you go study for 2 hours and come back, the quiz is going to be auto-submitted. So some of you had that problem last week and you had to email me or message me in Teams or whatever, and you had to wait for me to unlock it so you could take it. Don't do that. Just don't click on the quiz until you're ready to take it, okay? But if something happens, that's fine. Message me. It's just, you don't waste your own time like that. All right, so here's my contact info on this lesson page. There's my email. There's the phone number from 3 to 5 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday, I'm almost always going to be able to answer the phone or respond to your text on that number. Unless I'm already on the phone or responding to someone else's text, in which case you'll be next, right? But those 2 hours specifically are like my office hours. And then my Q&A is Tuesday, Thursday from 3:30 to 4, right? And the link's up top. And then I got Remind, and then Teams, which a lot of people have been using Teams in Office 365, and their Outlook. So that's it. All right, so let's look at the actual stuff. Foreign policy, that's what we're learning next. So you should have the PDF of the notes in front of you, okay? And we're just gonna kind of go in order. So I put page numbers in the top right on these orange boxes to help you kind of keep it going. And here's the other thing. At the end of the PDF is the answer key. Right, so my recommendation, if you really want to learn this stuff and you want to be ready for the quiz and just know this stuff, work through it with me. And then when you're done, check yourself using the answer key. You can cheat. I mean, I won't know it, but you'll know and you won't have learned it. So that's all on you. So anyway, do whatever you got to do. But my recommendation is spend a little time and actually learn this stuff. It won't take long. All right. The first thing we need to do is define each of these 3 words. So foreign, domestic, policy. So we just need to get definitions. So define the word foreign. So I'm on page 2 of the PDF right now. What does it mean for something to be foreign? What's that? Speak up a little louder. I didn't hear you. That's right, mi amigos. It means to come from somewhere else, to come from outside. All right. The word foreign, most of the time we think of someone from another country. Yeah. But it could also be an idea. Wow, that's a foreign idea to me, an idea that I don't understand, an idea that comes from outside of my thinking. It could also be when you were little and you swallowed a nickel and they took you to the doctor on the chart wrote foreign object swallowed, because it's an object that didn't start from your body. You put it into your body, right? So a foreign object could be an object that comes from outside your body. So, but typically the way we look at it is if something is from a foreign place, it's from a place that's not from where you're from. So if you're from Brazil, you think that everywhere else is a foreign country, right? If you're from America, then you would say every country that's not America is a foreign country. That's foreign. All right. Let's move on to page 3. Define the word domestic. It's the opposite of foreign. Now, we've actually defined this word before. When we studied the preamble, we said domestic tranquility. So we want to make sure that the government should be working to provide domestic tranquility. All right. Tranquility was peace. Where? Where do we want the peace according to the preamble? Yes, very good. In our home, meaning our home country. So the word domestic just means home, but that could be your house. It could be your city, your neighborhood. It could be your country, the United States of America. Okay. Typically in civics class, and when people talk about like domestic issues and domestic policy and all that stuff, they're talking about the whole country, United States. All right. Now here's the weird thing. If you are from China, well, to you, everything that comes from China is domestic, right? So some people will say the definition of domestic is from the United States, but that's not true, because if you're from another country, you don't think America is domestic. America is foreign to you. Domestic would be wherever you're from, right? And then so people talk about like domestic violence. Yeah, that's violence that takes place in a home between family members, okay? So domestic just means home. Domestic animals, animals that can live in your home. So domestic just means home, whether it's an actual house or whether it is a country, the country that you are from, wherever that would be. I know where you're from. You're from here, most of you. All right, define the word policy. All right, a policy. Somebody tell me what a policy, just kidding, I can't hear you. I mean, you can tell me, I can't hear you. So define the word policy. It's basically a rule that you come up with that you're going to follow. Like it's your own rule for how you deal with things. It's a plan that you come up with for dealing with situations. So like you could have a policy. If I'm ever at a cookout, rest in peace cookouts, Man, now I'm sad. Okay, rest in peace cookouts. But imagine that someday you're going to be at a cookout again. And what's your policy if you see the cook over there and they are dropping the tongs on the ground and just picking them up again off the dirt and they're just kind of wiping them on their sleeve? Like, what's your policy for dealing with that? Are you just going to eat it? Do you have a policy of like, I don't eat food that the tongs touch the ground, or whatever it is? Like, do you have a plan? You probably do. But to come up with a policy would be to go ahead and sit down and think about a situation that might happen in the future and go ahead and come up with your plan to handle it if it ever happens. All right. So you probably already have some policies. You're like, okay, if this ever happens, here's what I'm going to do. Here's my response. And I'll give you an example. So again, a policy is a rule or a plan that you come up with to deal with a future event, a future problem, a future situation. What would I do if I ever had a paycheck? Okay, my policy is I do this and this and this. Now it's your own thing. Could you not follow your policy? Sure. Could you change your policy? Yeah, it's yours, right? But it's just you go ahead and come up with a plan. Y'all, the worst time to come up with a plan is when you're in the middle of a problem. You don't want to come up with a plan right then. You know your plan's going to be bad. You want to come up with a plan ahead of time. I'll tell you a story. When we first moved into this house that we live in, it was about 3 or 4 years ago. So we lived in this new place and we didn't realize that they had these really loud smoke detectors, but that the batteries were going bad on them. And we didn't know that. So we are in bed one night. We've only been living here for like a couple months. And all of a sudden the smoke alarms, and it's like 3 a.m. So we're all dead sleep. And all of a sudden we hear this crazy loud voice and it's like smoke detectors talking, but I don't know. I don't know. All I know is I woke up and something was saying fire detected, and this crazy alarm going off. And so I'm in the middle of a problem. I woke up, it's 3 a.m. and something's telling me that my new house is on fire. Well, that's not good, especially at 3 a.m. when you can't think straight. So here's my response. Here was my reaction to being in this dangerous situation at 3 a.m. I ran into the hallway and I ran up and down the hallway about 3 or 4 times, doing absolutely nothing. I just ran down the hallway and then I turned around and I ran back. And then I did that like 3 or 4 times. I was still kind of asleep. Like I don't know what I was doing. I wasn't doing anything. I definitely wasn't putting out a fire. I didn't even know if there really was a fire. Turns out there wasn't, but I didn't know that. So my thought is, if my family and I had gotten together and said, hey, what are we going to do if there's ever a fire? And we actually had a plan. Okay. And we had practiced it and we had trained on it and we had everybody working. Okay. If you hear it, your job is this, and we'll go over here and we'll do this and we'll meet outside. If we had had a plan before the situation, then I wouldn't have been running up and down the hallway like an idiot because I didn't have any plan. It was just like, oh, what am I going to do? What's happening? So also kind of weird to me that that's what my brain does. I just apparently I'm going to try to run from place to place when I don't know what to do. So have a policy to deal with potential situations that might happen in the future. Okay. So another example would be if you owned a restaurant. You do not want to scare your customers off, right? But let's say you're about to open your brand new restaurant and at some point, some really big, gross, sweaty guy that's really hairy is going to want to come in and eat in your restaurant without a shirt on. Yeah, that's nasty. So he's going to come in and plop himself down at one of your booths, squeeze himself in, and he's got no shirt on and he's like dripping sweat all over because he rode his bike to your restaurant. And he's just like rubbing up against the back of the seats and he's kind of dripping on the table. And all of the other customers are like, and they nope out and they're like, I'm never coming back there again because the manager just let it happen. So you don't want to have a policy after the guy's already sitting down and say, oh, I got to come up with something to do here. What am I going to do with this guy? And you walk up and now it's a big thing. Now he's already sitting at the table and he's ordered food and now you're telling him to leave. And he's like, but I ordered my food. I paid my money. I'm an American, or whatever it is. And now you got a big problem. Whereas hopefully before you even open the restaurant, you came up with a policy like a lot of places have of no shoes, no shirt, no service. And so the people who had let the person in the front door, you should have trained them on that policy, and they could have stopped the guy from even coming in past the door. They could say, oh, excuse me, sir, you can't come in. We have a policy here unless you're wearing a shirt and shoes and pants, hopefully, you can't come into our restaurant. So if you'll just go put those on, we'll let you come back in and give you a seat. And he wouldn't even have got a chance to sit down if you'd had a policy in place. Okay, so you want to come up with the policies before you have problems. At some point, you're gonna like date people. Some of you are already dating people. Don't know why. It's not gonna last. You're 12. I'm 13. I know. It's not gonna last. All right. So anyway, at some point when you're like 72, you're going to start dating people. And when you do, you should go ahead now and come up with a policy. Don't spend your time dating people now. Spend your time coming up with your policy, your dating policies. I will not date. If I start dating someone and they do this, here's how I'm going to respond. If I start dating someone and they don't do this, here's what I'm going to respond. Right. I will not even date someone who is this way. Okay, go ahead and start thinking that stuff through. See, you signed on for some civics and you got some life lessons. It's just because I love you. All right. Now, number 5, page 5. We know what domestic is. It has to do with your home or your home country. We know what foreign is. It's something that comes from outside yourself or your country, right? So foreign countries versus your own country. We know what a policy is. It's a rule or plan that you put in place to deal with potential problems. So we put it all together. All right. So that's what we're going to do on page 5 of the PDF here. So the page numbers are on the top right. Orange box, black letters on an orange box. So it says next steps, put it all together. What's the difference between foreign and domestic? Give some examples. All right. Toyota, the car, right? The Corollas, the Camrys, all that stuff. The Toyota, the company, is from Japan. Yep. Those cars are from Japan. So are they foreign or are they domestic? Well, here in America, we would call those foreign cars because they are from another country. But if you go to Japan and you drive a Toyota, to them, that's a domestic car, right? So that is what that means. What's the difference between foreign and domestic? There you go. A foreign language, a language that is not your own, right? So that's that. Give some examples. Make sure you can give some examples. Next, it says use our definitions of domestic and policy. What type of thing would a domestic policy deal with? We know policies are dealing with potential problems or situations, and I'm telling you that these are domestic policies. So what type of stuff would a domestic policy be dealing with? Situations that are taking place where? In our home country. So for us, a domestic policy is a policy that would handle a problem or a situation here in America. Okay, so that's domestic policy. And the idea would be our 3 levels of government, whether it's local, state, or federal, would all be creating these policies, right? That's what we elected them to do. Hey, they better have a plan if we got a problem, right? Isn't that why we hire them? That's why they work for us. They better have a plan if we've got a problem. It's them. It's not each individual person, right? We're busy. We're doing stuff. Well, not these days, but normally. And so we hire people, we pay them, we elect them, we give them power to handle those things, and we expect them to be handled well, or else we won't vote for them again. That's domestic policy. We would handle things, problems, and situations that would take place here in America. All right. So then opposite, right? Use our definition of foreign, mix it with the definition of policy. And what type of things would a foreign policy deal with? That would be us, our government, trying to deal with problems or situations that come from other countries. Right? So if there is a problem or a situation between our country and some other country, we need to have some policies in place on how do we deal with that, because we don't want to have to come up with a plan in the middle of having a problem with China. We better already have some plans. We can just pull the plans off the shelf and say, okay, here is the plan. We wrote this plan 2 months ago. Let's follow it. All right. Or if we got a problem with England, one of our allies, and now we got a little friction between the two of us. How do we calm it down? We have some plans, hopefully, already created. All right. Now, this domestic policy and foreign policy needs to already be created before the problems happen, if we're doing a good job. And again, that all comes down to, who did we vote for in the Senate, in the House of Reps, in the White House, at the state level, at the local level? The people that we vote for are the ones that get to create the policy. So we better have done our research and not just listen to the propaganda, but actually check them out to make sure that they have a plan, right? When Joe Biden or Donald Trump say, here's my plan for dealing with this, listen to what they say. Are they speaking in glittering generalities, or do they actually have a plan for dealing with some problems? Or does it just sound good, right? So that's up to you. In about 5 or 6 years, you're voting, right? So hopefully, anyway. So you know now, if you took my class, that you better be checking these people out, right? And like I told you, if you run, as long as you pass my class, if you run and you come back and tell me, hey, Mr. Atkins, I'm running for blah, 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 I'm going to vote for you. So you'll get at least 2 votes, me and you. We'll both vote for you, okay? But only if you pass my class. I won't vote for you if you failed civics. Shame on you. All right, so next. Page 6. I give some examples here of specific foreign and domestic policies, and I want you to try to think of some yourself. All right. Remember, a policy is dealing with a problem or a situation, and so you can just make these up. Just make them sound like they make sense, and make sure you can tell the difference between when one is a domestic policy versus when is it a foreign policy, because that's what you're doing on the quiz this week. I'm going to give you a bunch of scenarios, and you just have to tell me, is that domestic policy or is that foreign policy? Okay, so I gave you a couple examples. Let's do the domestic one first. Domestic policy. Here's an example. Congress passes a law, yeah, that's what they do, that provides funding for homeless Americans who need social distancing housing during the corona quarantine. Now, if that's something that they did, think about it. Where is the problem taking place? In our country or in another country? In our country, because they're homeless Americans. Okay, so it's taking place here. What was the cause of the problem? Was the cause of a problem from our country or from some other country? Well, they're homeless. Okay, so that's not some other country's fault. That's just how life is here for some people. Okay, so it's a domestic problem in a domestic place. That means we need a domestic policy to handle that. So Congress's plan was, let's put some more money to make, if they got to live in a homeless shelter, well, they got to be 6 feet apart, so they can't cram them in. So that means we need more money for more shelters. So Congress said, here's our plan. We'll pay for more housing during the corona quarantine time so they can be socially distanced, 6 feet apart while they sleep in their shelters. Sure, that's a domestic policy. Now, is it going to work? I don't know. We don't know if the plan works until we try it. That's how plans are, right? You lay in bed and you're like, man, if he ever says that to me again, here's what I'm going to do. And you spend like an hour instead of sleeping thinking about how you're going to tell this person off. And it never goes like that in real life. You just end up saying like, oh, but you're stupid or something instead, right? It never actually works. So we don't know if our policy is going to work until we actually put it in place, but at least we had one, right? So Congress has this policy. It's a domestic problem in a domestic location. Has nothing to do with a foreign country at all. So we would put that under domestic policy. And I just made this one up, right? It sounds legit, but I just made it up. Okay. You make up 2 or 3. Just think of, identify a problem in America and identify how, like one level of government, either federal, state, or local, and say, how might they fix that problem? All right. And then just write it down a little situation. What would make it domestic and not foreign? All right, now let's move over to the foreign policy side. Foreign policy situation. If Congress, same group, passes a law, again, and this one provides funding as well. All right. So far, these are exactly the same, except instead, they're providing funding for medical supplies. Okay, still seems okay. Still seems domestic to be sent to our ally. Oh, and I put a little note over here. An ally is another person or country that has agreed to form an alliance with you and back you up if you need help, and we back them up and they back us up. Now, in real life, England is one of our closest and oldest allies. We're like, if countries could be best friends, that's us. We speak the same language. We have similar governments. They have a queen. We don't like that, but we're friends. Okay, and we have been for a long time, even though we fought against them a long time ago. I know it's weird. Sometimes the people you hate end up becoming your friends. And now we don't have to fight them again. It's kind of nice. All right, so anyway, Congress passes a law that provides funding for medical supplies to be sent from America over to England to help them deal with COVID-19. Okay, so it was all domestic up until that thing where we're sending it over to another country. Now it's foreign. Oh, what's the problem? Our ally needs help fighting a virus. What's our policy? Well, we help give them some supplies. Okay, that's a policy, and it's dealing with a foreign country. So there you go. All right. Now your stuff doesn't have to deal with the coronavirus or anything like that. It could literally be anything simple. Does it deal with another country? Is it a problem? Have we come up with a plan to deal with that problem? That's foreign policy. Is it a local problem here in America? Have we come up with a solution to deal with that problem? That's domestic policy. Okay, so just try to come up with a couple simple ideas to make sure you know the difference between the two. All right, and then here's the answer key. All right, I break it down by page number. Page 2, I underlined all my answers. There you go. All right, and that is that. If you have any questions, here, let me stop sharing my screen. If you have any questions, you need to text me, email me, or send me a message on Remind or Edmodo, or stop by that live Q&A Zoom thing that we're going to do Tuesday and Thursday from 3:30 to 4, using that code or that link. Okay, so that is what you should do. And then you can ask me directly, hey, I don't understand this. Can you explain this? Or the video messed up and I didn't get this part, or whatever it is. Okay, so that's what you do. You can Zoom from a phone or from a tablet or a computer or an iPad, I think. I've tried most of those and they seem to work. You may only be able to get in through audio and not see the video when you Zoom with me. That's fine. You're just trying to ask me questions. And if all that seems like too much, that's fine. Send a text, send a remind, send a message in Outlook. All right. And other than that, that's all I got. Stay safe. Take your quiz by Friday. Some of you still haven't taken your quiz from last Friday. So you want to take that. Yeah, you got to take them both. You got some work to do. You're a little behind. That's okay. You'll make it. Remember, you do not have to get I'm not giving you whatever grade you get on the quiz. So if you get 9 out of 14, I'm not giving you 9 out of 14 in the grade book. I'm giving you 10 out of 10. You got full credit because you passed the quiz. All right. So it shouldn't be very stressful. You may just have to put a little work into study and then you're good to go. Yeah. And so I'll see you guys next time I do this sort of thing. Let me know if you have problems. Okay. Bye now. Bye-bye.